Hi, I'm David.
I'm Sean.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
We're pleased to have with us today Sharon Seymour, a production designer on such films as Argo, The Town, The Ides of March, and the upcoming reimagination of Old Boy. Thank you for being here, Sharon.
It's a pleasure to have you. And for our viewing audience, why don't you go into just a quick explanation of what a production designer does?
Essentially, you're responsible for the physical environment of a film. The locations, the sets, the set dressing, the props.
So for Argo, which is a recent film that you worked on, it's very successful, has been nominated for several Academy Awards. Argo is a film that takes place at a very specific time. You know, it's based on a true story, so it takes place during the Iranian hostage crisis of 1979. Does that make it any easier to design? Does it make it more difficult? Is it about the same no matter what?
Well, I think we all felt that we had a responsibility to the fact that it was based on a true story, and we wanted it to feel very grounded in a reality of 1979, 1980, without feeling that it was a cartoon of that time.
Was there any major differences between how you originally envisioned the film to look and then how it actually turned out on screen?
Nothing's ever exactly the way you plan it.
Sure.
But we did have a really strong sense of how we wanted the film to look in its three segments. You have the government segment, Washington, CIA, State Department. You have the Hollywood segment,
which I love.
Warner Brothers, the publicity event. And then you have the Tehran experience as they try to get out of the country. And we were shooting different parts of those three things all over the place to get that to have a consistent look. So it's not exactly my mind's eye view of it, but it certainly is very, very close. At the end, I was visually very satisfied and thought it really hit the mark and just blown away by the storytelling of it.
You're gonna do a $20 million Star Wars ripoff. You need somebody who's a somebody to put their name on it. Somebody respectable, with credits, who you can trust with classified information. Who'll produce a fake movie for free.
So, like directors and writers who have a specific voice and a vision, production designers have a voice as well. What would you say your voice is?
I try very hard not to make the movie about the design.
Right.
As a filmmaker, I want an audience to just be going along with the story, not being taken out of the story because, oh, look at that fabulous piece of 1970s set dressing,
right,
or anything that distracts from the bottom line, which is telling a good story.
Do you have a particular film or a piece of work that inspired you and made you say, wow, I really want to be a production designer?
I never really looked at production design in a movie and said, oh my goodness, this is what I want to do. I was working in New York doing a lot of theater, and I got an opportunity to work through theater context. I got an opportunity to work on George Romero's Creepshow.
Oh.
And I went and worked on that movie with a crew that was primarily made up of sort of crossover theater people. And I realized that this opportunity I'd never really thought of, and then that movie was made in Pittsburgh. When I went back to New York City, I started to do more television, sort of early public television stuff, American Playhouse and
sure,
Theater in America. And I said, I want to do this. I want to pursue this. And it seemed like the mecca of that was Hollywood. And I moved to Los Angeles and went to American Film Institute in production design.
What was your first big break?
Probably the first thing that really switched my career here in California was doing the Ben Stiller show, which I agonized over doing because it was a television show. Ben Stiller was not Ben Stiller.
No.
He was an unknown.
It was like 20 years ago, right?
It was,
yeah,
and it was an HBO, almost 20 years ago. It was an HBO series, so there wasn't that much viewership. And I was doing film, and I thought, oh, I'm making this is going to be a terrible mistake, and it wasn't. It was a great opportunity because then Ben Stiller and Judd Apatow, who was a producer on the Ben Stiller show, took me along. And I did Reality Bites, and then I did Cable Guy, and that got me a really intelligent, wonderful agent and really changed everything.
So you never know.
You never know. And then Ben Affleck has made a huge difference as well.
course.
Anytime you can hook up with really talented individuals who have a voice and are interested in telling interesting stories.
Well, as is tradition here at Just Seen It, we'd like to thank you very much for coming and give you a cheers. Raise your glass, and here we go. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys for having
to
me.
Argo, and it was a pleasure.
Everything I do as a production designer, I do to reinforce the character, to add a subtext that it maybe isn't on the page.